Oh, hey, welcome, folks. Welcome to the Mental Health Warriors. I am Mary Nixon-hahn, your humble leader, your kind hearted person, and just all around great person. I am me. What you see is what you get. So, um, we are also streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, and we are on audio on Amazon. Um, and all those fun areas where you can fix for the mental health warriors. Yeah, it escapes me, but I'll put the link tree when I share the video back through, and you guys can listen to it from there. Today, I'm honored to have a lady I literally just met 3 days ago. Sara comes with me, and I'm sure that at some point you guys will realize she has a name that she uses. She's a writer as well. So I'm going to let Sara go ahead and introduce herself because I don't know how she introduces herself. And here, this is how we roll. We
Fair.
let people introduce themselves because they have
Good.
catch tags that I maybe either A, missed or B, haven't heard before. So go for it, Sara.
Yay. Thank you so much, Mary. I'm really honored to be here as well. I am Sara. SJ Childs is my author and my podcast host name. I have 7 children's books, all about special needs. I am a mother of 3, all on the autism spectrum, as well as other comorbidities. And my husband and I are also on the autism spectrum. We found out after our children, well, kind of in between. I found out last. And so it's given us a really great perspective of how to parent differently, how to access strategies and successes from our own experiences. And yeah, and so that's why I'm here today, is to just talk about autism. And I guess I'll let you decide what we're going to talk about, Miss Mary.
Well, if anybody's watched my shows, they know I ask questions and then I get asked questions back. I've had a couple of my mentors on. I've asked them all kinds of questions and then they come back with questions because they know what their people need to hear. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of how it rolls. So, before we get totally into what you do, I'm going to wrap this around real quick with your husband just finding out he's autistic and you having autistic children, and obviously it highly connected in the autism realm. How do you take that and work on the mental health aspect of that?
I love that question. You know, it was during I want to say about 6 years ago, that my son was getting a second diagnosis from a psychologist. And in that process, I was going through the, you know, fifth time I've done the ADOS exam to see, where your child is at on the autism spectrum. And I started to recognize all of these things I hadn't realized before about my husband. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is matching up. Check, check, check. And I brought him this list, if you will, of and I said, I really think that you have Asperger's. And I know that it's not in the DSM now, but it best describes his capabilities, if you will. And I, brought this to him and said, okay, like, I've had a chance to read his psychological evaluation when he was 9. And now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if they only knew what we knew now, they would have been able to diagnose him correctly all those years ago. And so I started to really think about all of the accommodations that I had made for him. We've been together for 18 years. And so that's a long time to discover someone's likes, dislikes, interests, all of the things. And I really started to understand, okay, now I can look at this in a little bit different light. Here I've had a son who has a lot of eating aversions, a lot of food aversions. He has a lot of social, engagement concerns. And he also has very strange sleeping patterns, very strange. And, trying to be a mom and regulate all of these things at the same time, and then realizing, well, here is a man who I have over the past almost 2 decades not gone to a restaurant with because he cannot be around people while they're eating. Absolutely not. And that's okay. Like, I've been to restaurants my whole life. I don't need to, make that a big deal in our life. But then I started to think, oh, well, look at his sleeping patterns. Sometimes he sleeps for 5 hours at a time, and then he'll be up for so long, and then another 5 hours. And it's just these crazy sleep patterns. And I thought, this makes sense. Now I can start looking at my husband's life and the things that have been successful in him and in his strategies that he, maintains, and help apply them more to my son. And once we did that, it was like this opening of all of the ideas and success that we were trying to put in, we could see was going to be working. And all of the fighting stopped. And I don't mean like fighting as in, like yelling back and forth. But when you are trying to medicate, force, and like control another person's eating and sleep schedule, believe me, there's going to be fights because we're all individual. We all have individual needs. We all have individual human dignities that need to be met. And I think as a parent, you think you have this like right of control to, and not saying that teaching children good boundaries and how to do things isn't correct, but actually controlling them can be a little bit harmful.
Yeah, I think we as parents, caregivers, you know, all those areas that moms cover or just have can think we have control of, and um, I I do the same thing. My husband and my youngest son are exactly alike. So there's moments where they're going to butt heads and stuff, and fortunately for me, I have a garage where I send my husband, and then then I send my youngest son to the bedroom, or vice versa. If
Yeah.
they did at that moment, at that specific moment, whether it's 1 minute or 1 hour, they have to be separated because it's not good. And this is something I've learned in the last few years too. What good does it do to yell at somebody because it does nothing but trigger the more anxiety?
So
And
true.
in our current status as a nation, world, whatever, you know, isn't there enough negativity? Isn't there enough
So much.
anxiety? There's enough. I don't know about you, but in my life alone, I know just within my own family, I've got enough trauma in my family. I don't need to make it worse. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so so yeah, you said you had some kids books. I have some listeners or people that might listen later that have kids that either have just been diagnosed or have been on the spectrum and that. Tell us a little bit more about those.
Yeah. I started writing the books as a hobby. Like, I was going to just go, make one at Walgreens and give it to my child for their own enjoyment. And it was mostly helping them understand themselves and why their differences were also their strengths and how they could use that to be proud of themselves rather than find differences to make them feel bad about themselves. And so in our journey, I have myself and I have a stepdaughter. So myself and my two biological children, we all have the same physical difference, and that is called outer ear microtia. So I have these really teeny tiny little ears, and my children both have them too. And for me, going through my childhood, I was teased, or, I wouldn't say bullied as much as just teased and made to feel different than everyone else due to my physical difference than them. And that holds you to guard yourself for a really long time. And I'm sure that a lot of people can understand that. And I really didn't want my younger children to struggle with that. They're again trying to help control that passage, right? However, I wrote the books just saying, look, these are 5 cats in this family. They all have different things about them. Not 2 of them are the same. And that's just like we are in our family. We're all different and unique, but we all have strengths that we bring. So being proud of the strengths that you bring as a person and not comparing yourself to others is the most important lesson. I also write about dyslexia. My child and my husband are both dyslexic. So I wanted to touch on dyslexia because it is a really just like autism, an invisible disability that really can damper a child's experience in school. Mm-hmm. And when I recognized that my daughter was possibly dyslexic, like I really just wanted to learn, like, how can I help her? What can I do? And so then started my journey of writing a book about dyslexia and how children can identify to get help. So it's not a book about teaching someone with dyslexia how to read better as much as it is to help a child identify that they might have dyslexia and be able to know how to ask for help. And not to mention giving those peers an idea of what it's like for someone to struggle with a challenge and how they can better support them to be a better community. I have a book about Down syndrome, anxiety, and then 2 books about autism. So yeah, and it just turned out to be such a joyful experience to have the books. And I find that I, donate them more than anything else. When I even keep a stack in the back of my truck, and sometimes if I'm at the grocery store or something and I see a child in distress or something, I'll offer the parent, hey, I have these children's books that I wrote, please give one, maybe that will help in this moment of helping you get in and out of your car for the grocery store. Because I know what it's like. I know when I've been in times of need, it's so much nicer to have someone say, it's okay, I understand, rather than, oh, can you make your kid be quiet? Like, aren't you getting control? Like all of these traumatic ideas that adults have for children that just don't work anymore for our society.
Well, and I think I really like the thought of the books and stuff. I actually have a couple different ones. I have affirmations coloring book by one of my mentor's son. His name's Zachary, and he came up with one, and I really like that. His mom is one of my mentors. And then I also have another one. I don't know if you followed Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have his books that I use for other folks. And then, of course, I have my own books for older kids looking for employment with autism and stuff.
So important.
So I have a question for you that was asked. Let me see if I can show this for you. Oh. All right. This is from Adam. I'm going to let you answer this.
Well, I'm under the age of 50. So personally, I really can't answer. I would love to do more research, though, to find out and maybe question some of my autistic women's groups and find out what that, how that might affect them. I can tell you for me personally I am 46, so I am on the verge of moving there sooner than I'd like, probably. But I think that right now I'm very comfortable being very honest and authentic about everything. I'm super heat sensitive. I overheat at the sight of someone else running and getting hot. So the idea that I'm going to have hot flashes and overheat in the future is not very pleasant for me to think about. So I'm definitely going to have to find out some strategies too.
Well, being just a few years older than you,
you could help me.
Well, I think a lot of that with the heat flashes and different stuff like that, I think it can bring us sense of heightened awareness of what's going on. I also think it can go the other way. I think it could overwhelm. For me, it does tend to overwhelm a little bit because I'm already a tornado when it comes to thinking. And so I think a lot of it just depends on the day. And I think a lot of it depends on if you're a meditator or if you're a yoga person or your higher beliefs. I mean,
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time in prayer. So, it just, I think a lot of that just depends on your belief system and how you deal with that. My family literally has this saying, one day at a time.
Yeah.
I can schedule all my podcasts, but that doesn't do me any good because literally I'm a day by day person, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's minute by minute. You
Right.
know, my
Right.
youngest son does extended education, so he's been on fall break, which probably why you heard the
Mine
door
too.
door slam behind me. But I think a lot of it has to do with just being who you are and being aware of what's going on in your surroundings. I mean, pretty much I have a routine. Now, I've learned to accept routines and I've accepted changes, but that doesn't change it in my head because my head's driven. 6 a.m. Then your son's home at 2 p.m. What are you doing between 6 and 2? So I think a lot of that has to do for me to keep me grounded in this time of my life where obviously change is abounding. And I'm going to leave it at that because I'm not going to go too much further with that. But because that's not the type of person I am. My personal life stays pretty personal, except for what I decide to share. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is knowing who you are as an individual and knowing where you need to go for help and strength stuff.
Yeah,
So
definitely. And communication. I would think that the more I can easier communicate with my spouse, with my family, the easier the experience can be and the less confusion there is. It's funny. I would normally say this at a totally different time, but I have a little quote that we use at SJ Childs, and that is, a little bit of knowledge turns fear into understanding. And I think that that goes a long way. It goes a long way for the children's books. When you educate little children on how they can be better understanding of other people, they have the knowledge. They can make the choice then to do so. But without the knowledge, it's just confusion and a lot of times fear. But I think that is a lot to do with this situation we're talking about now, because the most I think amazing thing happened in a uncomfortable situation when I realized, oh, I am on the autism spectrum. So my sensitivity to touch during certain times of my life is relevant. It's not this fake idea that I'm, grossed out by somebody or have anything like that. It's not hurtful to anyone else as much as it is a sensitivity to myself that now I can better understand. And now I can tell my husband, I wasn't trying to cringe or break away. I just am really sensitive to touch right now. So if you could respect that for me, that would be better for both of us. And that honesty is just needs to be right there up front.
right, and I think a lot of that, and something else I've learned a lot in the last few years is it's okay to be yourself.
Yeah.
As long as knowing yourself, knowing what you are sensitive to, or in our family, it's triggers and stuff.
Yeah.
But something else I've learned too, Sarah, and this is something that I have especially stepped back and looked at with my older now. My youngest is 20, so I'm at the opposite end, but um, I am, but it ain't because other people keep coming to me, and I can still teach from new diagnosis to where I'm at. That it's just I'm in a different phase. But the biggest thing I've learned too, teaching people that learn that their kids have just been diagnosed with autism, is yes, we're the parents, but regardless of their age, I think my biggest learning thing is let them teach us.
I love that. Yeah.
Because, you know, even still to this day, I still answer questions for my 20-year-old, and he gives me this glance over like, really? Really? You know, but
Thanks
we're
for the mom's playing, right?
but that's been our whole that's how we were taught when we were kids.
Yeah.
And so instead of always having to teach them and answer for them, just step back and let them teach us. My
Mhm.
20-year-old still teaches me. My 24-year-old still teaches me. My 33-year-old
Yeah.
teaches me. Oh, and hey, wait, the two grandkids still teach me.
Isn't that the truth?
But I think we have to, at some point, step back and take hands off and let
Mhm.
them, you know,
Yeah.
show you what they need, because they're going to show you. It's,
Mhm.
are we paying attention?
That is so true. And, really, you said something more towards the beginning about learning as a parent, like not to yell and yelling back, how much that escalates a situation. And our personal kind of story of how we changed our parenting style was I have a 23-year-old stepdaughter. So I do have that older, and I raised her from age 5 to 23. And so um, there was a lot of my parenting style that I brought with me to be this child's parent, which I now know doesn't work for the things that I want to have in my relationship with my kids. But I didn't know that. It was my first time around. I was trying to do best with someone else's child to give them like the most discipline and all of the things. And I really learned when we had our son, and he was nonverbal till almost 4. And when I realized that if I yell no at this child, stop, don't, any of those things, big, huge mistake, explosion. So we really had to strategize. Okay, we have to change our whole way of speaking to this child. We cannot expect him to understand, number one, what we're saying. We can't expect him to stop at the dime that we say stop. It's, those kinds of things. He doesn't know danger. He doesn't understand he has all of these challenges. We're going to have to parent this child so much different. And we really started to recognize that in that we were going to start parenting with compassion and not fear. And that was a big difference in generational change.
Yeah, we sit and again, I was raised with three brothers, and we are kind of like my mom and dad's second family because they were married before and had kids before and stuff. So, I was raised with all boys. Boy, I could kick field goals. Boy, I could throw passes, but I sucked at school. I wanted nothing to do with other females and stuff. So
Yeah.
yes, I was a late diagnosis, about 23, 24, right in there after my military service. So, it's one of those where it's like, we're taught like this, and this.
Mm.
So at what point do you you have to reroute your path
Yeah.
because
Break free. Yeah.
it doesn't work today.
Yeah.
And I've also learned, obviously tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language are my big thing. But with my youngest son, it literally is tone of voice.
Mm.
Because if you say it a wrong way, he gets this puppy dog face, and we're talking tears, and I'm like, oh, oh no, I need to use a different tone of voice because I can't stand that look. I'm like, whoa,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
that's soul touch. That's soul touching with him,
Yeah.
and he's 20 years old. So, and that was one thing I also learned with my boys is all my boys are taller than me. And if they didn't like a person, Sarah, seriously, they would hide behind me. I'm like,
Oh.
are you kidding me?
Oh, bless
You're
their
not
heart.
hidden. You're like a foot taller than me. How are you hidden? And so, the sooner we pick up on the cues that our kids give us,
Yeah.
the better off I think our parenting styles are. And I'm not here judging anybody.
Yeah,
This
sure.
is what worked for us,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
and the biggest thing for me is I had to learn tone of voice with one. The other one does not understand sarcasm. I'm like, great. Well, I finally figure out sarcasm. Now I got one that's like, whatever, you know.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
I'm like, I got three different aspects. And then you add my husband and myself on top of it. And it's like, oh, we got five different,
Yeah.
so it's like
So
a whole
true.
sphere of things.
Yeah.
So Sarah, do you have any events coming up?
Have a fantastic event. Yeah, I've just recently decided to start to bring people together to really help try to educate on a mass scale as much as I can. I had a big event in August that I brought 25 autistic adults together, and we just they got to tell their stories, and it was an amazing time. This weekend, I'm having an autism safety summit where I have brought 16 experts together, and they're going to cover a wonderful variety of topics. Water safety, such a big safety topic for autistic children mostly. Not that it doesn't occur for adults as well. And so we're going to be talking about why it is that children navigate towards water. She's going to give some tips on how to better prepare those kids for any kind of danger situations. We have law enforcement. We have a couple of school safety discussions in the classroom as well as throughout the school experience, and how to help navigate those school experiences with kids. We have a I'm like, don't leave anyone out. We have two home safety speakers. One is more child based and the other is more adult based. So I thought it was great to bring them both. One does more interior design and sensory rooms for children, and the other does more safety in the home, window safety, door safety, that type of idea. And so I thought it was really great to bring them together to give some ideas. I'm going to be doing a piece on a presentation on effective parent communication with professionals,
Nice.
because it's really important. And I've seen it just in my own community that I have here in Utah, and just in being online. The need for direct, clear, precise communication with professionals. And I don't think that parents don't mean to not do it as much as they don't know what they need to do.
Right.
And so that's what we're going to do, is help them figure that out. We have an autistic attorney who is going to be talking about legal safety and special education safety. Let's see. We have somebody doing an interesting topic on fire drill safety and how children can be better prepared for that to occur as well. So
we didn't get anything important.
In the mail?
No.
Okay.
Darn it. That means no bad mail either, right? No good mail, no bad mail.
Yep, that's the baby. And I think the middle guy is back there too.
Oh, bless their hearts. Well, I'm surprised that I didn't get a visitor as well, because I did hear him storming up the hallway in my house too. So not a problem. I call it the learning experience, right? Everybody gets to understand that life happens, doesn't stop for alive.
When my youngest comes in, he usually has something to say, and apparently the mailman went around. So
now you know.
All good. At least I don't have any hate mail.
Hey, exactly, right? I say no bills is good day.
Yeah. And then my other son's getting ready to go to work. So he just got home with his dad. His dad works their shift, and they went out and did some stuff together. So I was surprised they would be. I'm surprised they went today. That's for sure. So yeah, I know you have a couple of folks. Jeff Snyder, amazing gentleman. And I think you have a couple others that I've associated with. So yeah, our schools have just walked through fire drills and stuff on how to get our autistic kids, dyslexic kids, our Down syndrome kids and all of them from point A to point B during a safety drill, and they actually had fire department and the police department there with them too, so that they could recognize how to find somebody when it's time to get out. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. The summit is this Saturday. It's 9 a.m. Eastern in America time and to 6 p.m. So yes, please come over. I'll send you the links if you don't mind sharing them. That'd be great. It'll be really, and you can just Google Autism Safety Summit, and it is the first link that comes up on Google. And just, it's going to be a really, really wonderful time. I think there, I'm trying to think. There's two more really neat ones that we have. We have one person that does wearable QR scan codes for elopers. And that's brilliant. They made these QR scan codes that can go on clothing, backpacks, anything for elopers to help better assist in their elopement. We have a woman that does a bullying buddy app, it's called, which is an app that has a voice activation as well as a button that can be in the minute any kind of bullying situation is happening, will live stream to the parent and to the school. Nice. That the situation's occurring. That way they can take control of it right then and there. And she's also bringing all of the information to the CDC to help create change in the legislation regarding bullying. And so that's fantastic. We have a travel safety because traveling with your child or adult child with autism can be difficult. There are a lot of accommodations that can be made for you, but knowing how to get them can be hard to know. So it'll be a really great educational day. There'll be a 3-week replay for anybody that can't attend, but the people that can attend, you can interact and you can like on here today, it's a live. So you'll be able to ask questions, leave comments, whatever you want for all the speakers.
Nice.
Yeah.
I oftentimes, big summits like that, I think those are pretty cool. So one thing that I've been trying to do is make sure, like especially around my own area here in Nebraska, is I've been trying to get a little more personal since COVID and stuff. It's nice to see people's faces and actually have a handshake or a occasional hug.
Yeah, right. I would love to do an in-person event. These events have been virtual, so anyone can attend from anywhere all over. But yeah, it's definitely, it's great when you can get those in-person events going too. Yeah.
My sons are the same way. We're selective huggers around here.
Yeah, we get that.
So I know, like you, I have a busy schedule. I got a couple things I need to do. So one more time, as we end our program, Sara, tell people how they can get in touch with you and where they can find you.
Yeah, great. I am on all social media platforms. I mostly can be found under SJ Childs, whether it's SJ Childs or SJ Childs Show, as you can see here. That is my Instagram, TikTok. On Facebook, you can find me under Sara Bradford, and I'm sure she has my name tagged in the post, so you can see and go to there to follow me if you'd like to do that. Of course, I have the SJ Childs Show page, and everything can also be found easily in one place on my website, sjchilds.org.
Nice. Well, Sara, it's been fun having you here.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and make sure I know what I'm doing here. Or my chief executive officer might get me. I'm going to go ahead and end, and I'll catch up with you in a minute.
Sounds good.